Hello everyone, my name is Burçin Sena. Today I'm going to talk about Iran and its tourist attractions. With a history spanning thousands of years and having hosted many civilizations, Iran offers visitors a journey through time with its historic styles, impressive architecture, and stunning natural landscapes. In this presentation, we will look at Iran not only as a tourist destination, but as a layered geographical shaped by architecture, history, and cultural codes. The phrase beyond the veil in the title point exactly to that idea. In other words, we will move beyond surface impressions and examine Iran through its urban design, religious heritage, natural contrast, and the practical rules that shape everyday life. The first section focuses on practical access to Iran, meaning visas and the unwritten social rules visitors need to know. The second axis centers on Safavid Isfahan and in particular in Spain organization of Nasr Jahan Square. The following section move on the heritage of Yazd and Iran's strict natural contrasts, offering a broad picture of the country's cultural and geographical diversity. This slide gives the most basic information about entering Iran. Turkish citizens can travel visa-free for up to 19 days within a 180-day period. However, there are several points that still require close attention. Hotel reservation, a return ticket, and travel insurance. The most critical warning is that entirely may be denied if there is an entire Israel entry or exit stamped in the passport. So in this case, practical preparation is extremely important. This page summarizes social rules in Iran under two headings. What is accepted and what is restricted? On the exempt side, clothing and public behavior stand out in particular for women. Head coverings and more modest clothing are generally expected, and public conduct follows a more conservative social code. On the restricted side, professional photography and drone use are especially important to note. So while traveling, it is necessary not only to read the place itself, but also to understand the expected way of behaving within it. This slide explains the political vision behind one of the strongest urban projects of the Safavid era. Nashejehan Square Sheikh Abbas aimed to replace the old center with a new imperial focal point where economic, religious, and political power would all be gathered on one stage. The scale and monumental relief of the square were designed to make that power visible. So this was not just a square, but the spatial expression of state ideology. This slide presents the physical organization of the square in a more technical way. It's a vast rectangular space measuring 524 by 159 within 59 meters. Within it, there is a black stone surface used for equestrian games, polo post, water channel, and a thematical garden layout. In other words, the square was planned as a multifunctional public space designed not only for ceremonies but also for sports, cooling, circulation, and visual impact. Here, the four principal structures surrounding the square are compared in terms of both function and political meaning. To the north, the bazaar represents the commerce. To the south, the Sheikh's Mosque represents public religious authority. To the east, The shaken lot of Mosque represents a more exclusive theological space, and to the west, the Ali Kapı place stands for state power. The key points is this: these were not simply buildings, but coordinated elements that brought together the empire's economy, religion, and governance within one unified setting. This slide shows how the square changed over time two phases. In the first phase, military ceremonies and display were more dominant. In the second phase, with the addition of commercial structures and development of religion buildings, the square evolved into a more complex urban center, so a place that began primarily as a space for military display gradually became a lively center where commerce and religion were also concentrated. This page presents yes from two different perspectives, engineering and belief. On the left, we see the wind catcher or Badger system. This structure channels desert winds into interior space to create cooling, functioning almost like a natural air conditioning system. On the right, the slide introduced the Zoroastrian tradition and the sacred fire cult. In this way, has emerged is a history that presents both intelligent climate, responsive engineering, and the long continuity of an ancient religion tradition. This slide explains the logic behind Zoroastrian funerary architecture. The dogma or Tower of Silence are based on the idea of protecting earth, water, fire, and air from the pollution of death. Bodies were placed in designed ring with separate section for man, woman, and children. In the final stage, the bones were transferred into two um, central pits. So the architecture here is not only physical structure but also a ritual expression of the relationship between nature, death, and the sacred. This map brings together Iran's geographic extremes at a single glance. On one side, there are highly settled areas such as Lake Urmia, elsewhere the Dastakaver Desert, and in the north place such as the Desert Sky Resort and Golden National Park. This diversity prevents Iran from being understood as a single type geography. Within the same country, it is possible to experience desert, sky slopes, and dense forest landscapes, which is one of Iran's most distinct characteristics. This slide makes those geographical contrasts more concrete through direct comparisons. On the left, there are scorching sand flats and desert safaris with camels. At the same time, because light pollution is very low, these areas are also excellent for observing the night sky. On the right, we see snow peaks and sky slopes in the Alborz Mountains near Tehran. So in Iran, natural is not only intense but also remarkable, diversity and often unexpectedly varied. This slide highlights two natural landscapes. The first is Lake Urmia, known for its red and pink tones. These colors are caused by a special microorganism in the lake together with its extremely high salinity. The second is Golestan National Park, which forms a complete contrast to the central salt desert. With its dense forest, waterfalls, and biodiversity, it stands out as a very different ecological zone. This comparison shows the Iran nature is not only harsh but also visually striking and highly varied. This page presents the Alamut Valleys as a place where nature and legend come together. On one hand, there are the hard valleys of the Alborz Mountains and demanding trekking routes. On the other hand, there is powerful historical memory tied to the legendary fortress of the Asians. For that reason, Alamut is not simply a hiking destination but a multi-layered place where one enters both medieval political history and mythic narrative at the same time. The final slide gathers the entire presentation into a single synthesis. Iran is presented here as a country that cannot be reduced to a single definition. On the side, there is imperial architecture. On another, ancient religions heritage. And another, harsh yet rich natural innovation. The central message of the presentation is this: to understand Iran, it is not enough merely to see its buildings or landscapes. One must also read the cultural logic that connects them. Thanks for listening.